All right, everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today is Sunday, and on Sundays we read a sefer called Siach Sarfei Kodesh, which is a Breslov sefer. It's a collection of Breslov history and things that were passed down from generations and to different people and stories and everything like that. And we've been reading the sefer every Sunday for the last 3-4 months already. Right now we're in the middle of a section already for a few weeks about sayings, teaching, stories, and a lot of information about Rebbe Noson of Breslov, who was Rebbe Nachman's main student and main carrier on of Breslov Chassidus. Without him, we would really have nothing. So it's very important to learn about him, and we're just going to start. So it says over here that on the Shavuos Hagadol, there was 3 times a year that the Breslov Chassidim went to Rebbe Nachman, and they continued on after Rebbe Nachman died, which was Rosh Hashanah, Chanukah, and Shavuos. So this was after Rebbe Nachman died. It says that on this great Shavuos, right, which they had, I guess, the year after Rebbe Nachman died, they all gathered together in Uman. There was a very, very big Hisoyrus Gadol, because Rav Noson was talking about Rebbe Nachman, and he was teaching Torahs, and it was just very, very holy, and everything like that. It was like mamish fire. And the Hasidim were whispering, to themselves and to other people, that they were like, "Wow, that Rav Noson is actually the Rebbe." Like that's how great he was, because they were seeing how great he was. And when Rav Noson heard this, he screamed out loud and he says, "I know that I'm not the Rebbe. I know that I'm not the Rebbe." But there's only one Rebbe, and that's Rebbe Nachman. One time when Rav Noson was traveling after Rebbe Nachman died to different cities where the Chassidim lived, to give them chizuk about Rebbe Nachman and everything like that, he was speaking to one of the Chassidim who was very, very poor, and this poor Chassid was telling Rav Noson that he said, "You need to build a klois for us. If you don't build a klois for us in Uman, so that when we gather there, you really have not done anything. You have to do more." And this guy was ready to give all of his money, which was 2 rubles, because he was such a poor person, to Rav Noson for this. And Rav Noson actually did not want to take the money when he saw it, but this guy was very adamant that he should take it. And Rav Noson said, "Fine, if you're going to be the one to tell me to build the klois, then you're going to be the first one to start it." And Rav Noson would say that with this guy's 2 rubles, I started building the klois. And when he would go to other places where there was more, where there was other Breslov Chassidim, and that they were also very rich, he would tell them about this poor person, to give them chizuk, like this guy gave all of his worth to you guys who are rich, to give a little bit more money. And that's the way that Rav Noson started building the original klois in Uman. Rav Noson said that there is a great chisaron by people, that because they want to do a mitzvah with all the different hidurim and chumras and everything like that, and they try so hard to fulfill the mitzvah with all the hidurs and everything like that, they actually are not mekayim the mitzvah at all. They're so worried about what they're doing, if they're having the proper kavanas, this, that, all that, so they never end up actually doing the mitzvah. And that's one of the Rebbe Nachman's main teachings also, is they have to do everything, very, very simply, without thinking about it too much. One time, they told over to Rav Noson that there was a man, his name was Rabbi Akiva Velvo, who was probably a Breslov Chassid. They said about him that he would learn the Shulchan Aruch with all the different Perushim on the side, and he would go over them a lot, and everything like that, so that he should know them by heart. And when Rav Noson saw him, he said to him also, he said that you should learn Likutei Moharan so much that you know it by heart, because when you're in the caver, and the worms come to eat your body, he said, when a worm comes to the part of your body, or like a bone that is so sunken in with Likutei Moharan, then he will not come next to you, and you'll be protected in the caver. That's pretty crazy. Rav Noson will learn with other people. He had chavusas in little things like mishnayos and things like that, but big shiurim like Gemara and Shulchan Aruch and Iyun, he will learn by himself. Talking about more shiurim, it continues on over here. It says that one of these shiurim kivuim that Rav Noson had was to learn every single day certain prakim, a certain amount of prakim of mishnayos, like when he was first becoming close to Rabbi Nachman told him to learn 18 prakim a day of Mishnayos, which is a lot of prakim of Mishnayos, but here it just says a few prakim. This was probably after. And also one of his minhagim every day was to dance every single day. Rav Noson was noeg on Purim to drink to the point of drunkenness, to be mekayim, simply what Chazal said, that a person has to get drunk on Purim. And it's a big thing in Breslov not to drink so much, and the only time they say to really drink till mamish drunkenness is on Purim, because that's the only time that the Chazal said to drink. One time, Rebbe Nachman Tulchin was traveling with Rav Noson on the way. They were staying in some place, and it was very cold outside. And Rebbe Nachman Tulchin wanted to set up Rav Noson's bed next to a place that he would be able to sleep good, so that he would be able to get up in the middle of the night to do Tikkun Chatzos and learn, because the place where his bed was, there was like these broken windows, and they were open, and they couldn't close, and it would be freezing, and he wouldn't be able to get up. And Rebbe Nachman of Tulchin was working hard on this to try to figure out a solution, but he was not able to figure out a solution. Even still, they went to sleep, and he got up in the middle of the night, Rav Nachman of Tulchin, to see what was happening, and he saw that Rav Noson was already up, and he was already learning Shulchan Aruch after already doing Tikkun Chatzos, even though the windows were broken and it was freezing and he didn't have a comfortable bed, because Rav Noson was hardcore like that. In Nemirov, in the city of Nemirov, where Rav Noson lived before he moved to Breslov, there was one time a chasana from one of his distant cousins. And Rav Noson went to the chasana only because by going to a chasana, because you could have his soiris to be happy. Right? The chasana, you dance, you become simchadik, everything like that. Because without this reasoning, he would not have gone, because they weren't so close. But he only went simply because his ratzon was to become happy by going to this wedding. And that's a very important part of being Breslov, is to always try to make yourself happy. Rav Noson said one time to the Chassidim, you have to be very careful that your godless does not hide the beauty of the Rebbe. Meaning that if you become so great that people forget about the Rebbe, you have to be careful that the main point is always the Rebbe. And also the same type of thing that he said also at one time was that you have to be very careful that your katna shalachem, the lower parts of you, the parts that aren't so great, they should not hide the greatness of the Rebbe. That people should see a Breslov and be like, oh, look at them, they don't really do this, do that, and then the people don't really respect Rebbe Nachman. So the main thing is that you always have to make sure that the Rebbe is the Iker, and whatever you do is so that people should know that how great that Rebbe Nachman was. I think that's what he's trying to say over there. Rav Noson said that the tzaddik Rav Zusha said that on everything in his life, when he gets up to Shemayim, he's able to give a din and a cheshbon, except for a day of traveling. Right? Because when you travel, you don't have so much time to learn and do your avodah, so he's not ready to give a din and a cheshbon on that. But Rav Noson said that I say that I am ready to give a din and a cheshbon on everything, including a day of traveling, but depending on which day. Because Rav Noson was so machbid on each second of the day, even when he was traveling, he was able to learn and do everything that he needed to do, so therefore he was able to give a din and a cheshbon on that. So that's very cool. One of the chassidim was a Malamed in the city of Ladizin. And after a while, he gathered up enough money to send back to his house. He worked hard for his money, he wanted to send back to his family. And he wanted to send it with a shliach instead of sending it with the regular post office, because when he sent it with the post office, it would cost some money. Cost a few extra coins, and he wanted to save money on that too. So he asked Rav Noson what to do, and Rav Noson said, after you already worked so hard for your money, make sure that when you send it, it's secure, and then you should be, feel good about that you sent your money with something secure. So send it with the regular post office and not the shliach, because the shliach could mess up. So here we have simple advice about sending money with the post office from Rav Noson of Breslov. You should send whatever you have with the more secure way. When Rav Noson visited in Tzfas, when he visited Eretz Yisrael, which is also a very wild story, maybe one day we'll read through that because there's so much details and so much everything in there. He met someone there, and this guy was telling Rav Noson about tzaras that he was having. And what was his tzaras? His tzaras was that he made a neder that he that he was going to say the Sefer Tehillim, the whole entire Sefer Tehillim, every single day. He was doing that his whole entire life, but now he was already much older, and it was very, very hard for him to say it. So therefore, he asked Rav Noson what to do. So Rav Noson told him that from now on, you should say the Tikkun Klali, because Tikkun Klali is kolol. It includes all the different asara, meaning negina, the 10 types of song that the whole entire Sefer Tehillim is based off of, which is the whole teaching of Rebbe Nachman. And therefore, it's like if you say the Tikkun Klali, it's like you said the whole entire Tehillim, basically. So therefore, that's what the guy did. And in Yemei or Not, where it goes over where Rav Noson actually met this guy, who he was, it elaborates much more on the story. So one day maybe we'll get to there. One time, it says over here that Rav Noson, he raised a girl in his house who was a yisoima, who was an orphan, right? Until she was ready to get married, and she got engaged. And the Shabbos before the Chasna, which was the Ofruf, was actually going to be on Erev Shavuos, because Shavuos that year was on Motzei Shabbos Kodesh, and Rav Noson had to be there. But he also wanted to be by Rebbe Nachman for Shavuos, and he broke this mania, and he went anyway. But he did not. But when he got to wherever Rebbe Nachman was in those days, I think it was Breslov probably, he got there and he did not show himself to Rebbe Nachman before Shabbos. He only went to Rebbe Nachman on Shabbos, because he was scared that when he left his house, his family would get angry and they would send a letter to Rebbe Nachman, and it would get there before Rav Noson did, and then they would send him back home, because Rebbe Nachman would say, you have to go back home and be by this Ofruf. But he didn't want to go back home. He wanted to be by Rebbe Nachman for Shavuos. So he didn't go so therefore he didn't go to Rebbe Nachman until Shabbos started, because then Rebbe Nachman was not able to send him back. And then when Rebbe Nachman saw him, I guess he told him about these things, and Rebbe Nachman already knew about it. He said that after you already broke all the manias, it's better for you to already be here. That you did well. But it's hard. Rebbe Noson was very into these, breaking all these manias and doing these types of things. All right, 2 more pieces over here. Rabbi David Tzvi, who was the father-in-law of Rav Noson, he would not wash his hands during the week for any bread. He only ate mezainis upachas mikasher. Kol machmas chumras with washing hands. He had so many chumras with doing netilas yadayim that he would not wash except for on Shabbos, right? And Rav Noson's wife would prepare for him mezainis. She would prepare for him 2 ugiyos v'chetzi, right? 2.5 cakes, 2.5 whatever it was, cookies, whatever it was, and Va'amar Rabbi Avram ben Rav Nachman, and Rav Avram ben Nachman said that we see his greatness, that he did not eat ever more than a share, right? And he was saying that he was such a big tzaddik, like he only ate mamish like just to stay alive. Even though he was a very big misnagid against Breslov, he was very hard on Rav Noson at the beginning, but they still realized that he was a very, very big tzaddik. And here we could see one of the reasons why he was considered a very big tzaddik, because he also mamish did not eat bread during the week because of chumras, and also just he never really ate more than the share of mezainis that you needed to do for an alamichi. Because mamish, he just ate enough just to stay alive, mamish. And the rest of the time he just learned Torah. It says over here that there were people, because back in those days the army would take everybody. That there was people in Rav Noson's time that wanted to get out of the army service, because what they would do is that they would injure themselves. They would, chop off one of their fingers or whatever, hurt themselves, whatever it was, so that they would get a pator from the tzava. And Rav Noson was not into this. He was very against this, actually. That's that. Okay, that's this. Those are the inyanim of Rav Noson for this week, and we will continue on Tuesday with stories and other things, maybe Hanukkah, Avodas already. And thank you all for watching.